Welcome to The Detail. I'm your host, Kathy Antunes, and you are listening to The Detail on WSLR 96.5 LPFM in Sarasota, Florida, and WBPV 100.1 LPFM in Bradenton, Florida. The views and opinions of hosts, guests, and callers on WSLR are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of WSLR staff or volunteers. So today, I have a guest who is running for school board. Heidi Brandt is with me in the studio. Heidi, your microphone is not working. Unfortunately, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to get it going. So we may have to go to music just so that I can make sure that we can hear you. So I'll tell you what, everybody sit tight. We'll be right back.
Slow motion when I look at the sky. Slow motion.
We're back. Heidi, thanks for being here. You're on. We can hear you. Apologies for that. Sometimes we get sidetracked here and the usual settings weren't there, but now they are. So Heidi Brandt, you are running for, is it District 2?
District 1.
District 1. It's, the districts, because you guys are elected at large for the school board, so you represent a certain portion of the county, but everybody votes. It's not like the county commission. So you are running for the open seat. Bridget Ziegler is not running. And this is the only race where there's 3 candidates, not 2. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining me. And let's talk about, you. Why are you running? But before we get to that, tell us about yourself, where you're from, how you got to Sarasota, your own education, your own professional background, family, that stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
I am running for District 1. And the only thing about running for your district is you have to live there.
Yes.
So I live in District 1, but actually I represent the entire county. So I will represent every school and every city in the entire county. And that's why it is a county-wide election. So it's important for everyone to know that they can vote for me no matter what district they are in, if they so choose. Yes. I grew up in Minnesota. My parents were both school teachers. My dad taught biology and then became a principal, and my mom taught math. I graduated from college in Minnesota, and then I quickly moved to New York City. I grew up in a really small town, and so naturally I wanted to go to the biggest city in the country and move to New York.
Okay.
So moved there. I was working there. I graduated with a degree in health and exercise physiology, did some cardiac rehab, quickly learned that New York was very expensive, so had to get a couple extra jobs to just pay the rent and my 5th floor walk up.
Yeah.
But where I was working, I met my husband, now Jerry. We met on a basketball court. I beat him in a game of basketball, and that quickly...
He told me about that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
He challenged me to a game of horse, and I am ever so competitive to my core.
You weren't going to throw the game for a guy.
No way.
Okay.
Yes. I wanted to impress him, so by doing that, I needed to win.
Yeah.
So, so he had to take me out to dinner, and that was history. Yes. We moved here to Sarasota about 13 years ago. Jerry's family actually set up roots here in the late 80s. And when we were living in New York City, we were going back and forth, and then just decided, why? We wanted to make Florida our home. So we moved here 13 years ago and made it our home. We have a daughter together. We have 3 beautiful stepchildren. I have 3 beautiful stepchildren. And then we have a daughter together, Mia, who is going into 4th grade at Southside Elementary School.
Yeah. So, okay. So it was exercise. Is that like a BA? What kind of a degree is
Bachelor
that?
of Science degree.
Okay. So it's a Bachelor of Science. At what school?
At Gustavus Adolphus College, a
Okay.
lovely little Swedish Lutheran school in southern Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. I remember from the Golden Girls, right? She was from Minnesota, and there was a big Swedish or Scandinavian population.
You don't hear my accent anymore, do you?
No, I don't. What part of the city did you live in? Because New York there's so many cool places. It's a great experience. I was in the Upper West Side for a while. Where did you live?
My first stop with my roommates from college was 33rd and 3rd down in Murray Hill.
Oh, okay.
Great.
That's a great area.
It was a really good area.
Yeah.
I felt safe there. It was wonderful. 5th floor
Yeah,
walk
my
up.
mom had an apartment nearby.
Yeah.
When she worked for the city. Okay. So you moved to Sarasota. You've been here 13 years. So was Mia was born here.
She was.
She's a native Floridian.
She is a Florida-grown girl.
Wow.
Yes, we call her Florida-grown.
And you live out on Lido. I know that I met your husband sitting in the city commission. And we were, I was leading the fight to save Lido Pavilion, which 90% of people were against creating, a daiquiri deck or a spring break type bar at that pavilion. I say daiquiri deck because the owner of daiquiri deck was one of the applicants. But, so Jerry and I got to talking. We had talked before, but then we figured out we went to the same high school, which is a small high school in Armonk, New York. It's 150 kids per grade, 600. And it was just it was kind of crazy because he was a freshman. I was a freshman when he was a senior. So we didn't know each other, but we started talking about all our teachers, and I was just wow, small world.
It is.
It's a really small world. So obviously you have a child in public schools. She's 9 now.
She is 9. Yep, going into 4th grade next year.
So your daughter came up during all the COVID stuff, all of, Moms for Liberty. We saw politicization of public schools on a national level. There's 3 people in the race. There's Jimmy Glover, there's you, and there's Teresa DeWitt. And I will, haven't asked Teresa on yet. I'm hoping she can come on. I will be asking her, why did you specifically? Because this is a big thing to do. It's a lot of work. Well, why are you running?
Well, going back to the COVID years, Mia was in preschool. And so that was a scary time. We hadn't decided where we were going to go to elementary school yet. And, with everything going on, and questioning the school board a little bit and their decisions, questioning everything. I did look into other alternate schools and public schools. But at the end of the day, talking to neighbors, talking to friends, where we live on Lido, we're zoned for Southside. And a lot of friends said, you'd be crazy if you don't take the opportunity to go to this fabulous public school. And so, I jumped right in. And the very first day I walked into the classroom, my teacher, she wasn't new to teaching, but she was new to Southside. And she had just been hired a week or so before. Yeah. And her classroom needed work. And, she just looked at me and my friend Melissa and said, help. And so we spent the whole first couple weeks every day after school, and Jerry and her husband on ladders, hanging up things, decorating the classroom, making it feel, like her home, to teach for that year. And so it was then that I just decided to not just dip my toes in the water, but jump in head first. And I was the room parent and I was the garden parent. And at the end of the year, the PTO president currently said, you've done great, you should do more. So I signed up to be co-chair of our jogathon. Our jogathon at Southside is extremely successful and raises a lot of money. So I was really proud of that. The next year, again, I co-chaired jogathon and was asked to be vice president of the PTO.
Okay.
And then this past year, I was served as the president of the PTO. So it has just been my calling to say yes and to jump in and to serve the students and the teachers, working with admin, working with staff. And when these spots came up on the school board, it felt so natural for me to say yes, to serve our greater community. I have enjoyed every minute of getting to know our teachers and their needs and supporting them and our students and working with the curriculum. I feel I can do so much more on a greater scale.
Okay. Yeah. PTO president is definitely a lot of work. And I didn't, I forget the difference again, but there's a difference between PTA and PTO. And if you want to explain that, that's great. But what was it like and what is it like leading that organization during these times?
I have to say when I first got on when Mia was in first grade and I was just on the committee for Jogathon, it was a great year. Fundraising was great. Volunteers were great. I don't know if it was the culture, if it was what was going on in the world and money and finances with people around, but it was just such a wonderful year. This past year, we have struggled with volunteers. We struggled to raise as much money as we did the past 2 years. Parents that I know are going back to work, where maybe the mom stayed home, now she's taking a job, or dad stayed home, or whatever it may be. So there aren't as many volunteers. Economically, we struggled a little bit this year. I found myself there more than I expected just because I felt the need to fill roles that weren't otherwise volunteered for. So it was a challenging year.
So the money that the PTO raises is used to supplement the school or? Pretty much.
So we have a pretty incredible budget, and we take it very, very seriously. I mean, these are dollars that our community members are giving us, our parents are giving us, fundraising. So we are very cautious with our money. We pay for a media specialist who is in the library because that is one of the things that often gets taken away, right, when we're talking about budget cuts. And we had the ability to retain someone who is there, who knows every single student, knows every book in the library, and is just amazing. So we're fortunate that we were able to retain her. We actually supplement curriculum materials that possibly has been cut. IXL, accelerated reading, other programs for the teachers that they were used to and they know benefit the students. They will come to us and ask us. So we have the ability to supplement that. We take care of our teachers on Teacher Appreciation Week. We do family events for all people so no one can feel excluded. So we really try to touch every student with our dollars spent.
Yeah, because and this dovetails with what's been going on budget-wise with Sarasota County Schools. Since the beginning of universal vouchers in 2023, I believe last year $45 million went to vouchers for students, which 60% of those students had actually never attended public school. I don't know what the data is for 24 and 23, but I'm curious to know your thoughts because obviously you're seeing some financial stress on the school and on parents just with what's going on in these times. But there's definitely pressure on the school board budget. What do you think about the universal vouchers? Do you think that there need to be more restraints on them? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, let me just start by saying, hopefully when I'm on the board, we need to do a better job of retaining our students. We have to think about why are they leaving? Why are they taking these vouchers? Why are they leaving the schools? Are these other opportunities so much better than us that they're using these vouchers to go somewhere else? So why are they leaving? And how can we retain our families and our students? So that is one of my big goals is communication, marketing, that our schools are the the best. We're doing a great job moving into the future with our K-8 schools, with our STEM programs, with our high schools, doing more workforce training. So first off, that is my goal, is to why are they leaving and how can we get them back? The voucher system. So I actually went down to the Northport Chambers and got to hear Jay Collins speak. And I had the opportunity to ask him a question. Well,
who is he?
Jay Collins is running for governor. He's one of the candidates running for governor.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
My head is in local politics. I know that.
I've been here, there, and everywhere. I mean, so I'm trying to meet with people, and I want to also be the voice. Like, we can't make decisions on the school board level with vouchers, so that means that I need to have a voice at the state level to ask these questions and to work with our representatives. So I did ask him, or I made the statement, I would love you to take a look at the voucher system because, I do believe it was implemented for the right reasons, and I do believe in choice, and I do believe parents should be able to use the vouchers for the right fit for their student. I think it grew too fast. I don't think they projected it to be used so broadly and widely without constraints, that all I asked of him is that they bring this to the legislative session and take a closer look of how we are using these vouchers. So, this is just my personal feelings. I wrote some of the numbers down. The average median property tax is about $3,400. Yet the vouchers are $8,000 to $10,000.
Roughly.
Right? Yeah. So somebody else is supplementing that private school tuition. Yeah. And so we have to find a good balance. I don't think we get rid of it. I think it has its purpose. I think it's good. I think choice is important. I think parents are in the driver's seat in their children's education, but it definitely needs to be looked at because the numbers just aren't going to fit, especially when we need to keep more dollars in our public school budget.
Okay, so I'm curious about two ways that I think are fairly clear questions that need to be addressed. The first is means testing, because especially for a Republican legislature, to me, I just don't buy the idea they didn't realize this was going to happen. Because what you subsidize, you get more of, number one. But number two, this is free money for families who have already been paying private school rates. And to your point, they may or may not be even paying property tax that covers. If you have 3 kids, it's $24,000. If you're sending those 3 kids to a private school, a family's already paying that. And those dollars were going to come out right away. These folks aren't, especially they're affluent, they probably understand money. They're not going to leave money on the table unless they send their kids to a school that won't take the voucher. And that's unusual. Most private schools are going to take the voucher. So do you believe that there should be a means test before a voucher is given? Because that would rein them in right off the bat.
It's a pretty good idea. I would like to look more at, so when we look at property taxes, those people are paying taxes. Those tax dollars, should, maybe a portion of it. I don't think just broadly, if you have the means to pay, you should pay, because you are still paying taxes. So I do think there could be maybe a sliding scale or something, or maybe a portion. I don't think overall just like, no, you don't get it because you meet this means. But I don't think that it should be to the extent that every single penny is going to, your private school. I do think we can figure out a smart, maybe sliding scale to make it feel like those people who are paying taxes maybe can use a portion towards a voucher, maybe not all. But I do think that there could be a sliding scale to make it fair.
So to your point about some kind of standards or public school, or the fact that, even people without kids, I send my kids to public schools and private schools, and I was concerned about performance, and I'm sure you are too. You sent Mia to Southside because you heard it was such a good school. Public schools have to take everybody, and they're subject to many performance measures, and they have to serve the needs of all different kinds of students. So they don't get to cherry pick their kids, which, private school can take a child or not take a child. But the thing that I think is concerning about giving tax money to private schools is a lot of them don't report their outcomes. A lot of them don't have the same standards when it comes to education. And do you think that it would be fair, reasonable, that if a private school is going to take public money, that they have to meet the same benchmarks and standards as a public school?
I think there, if you're taking taxpayer money, there should be some kind of accountability. But I mean, look at our charter schools. You know, not all of our charter schools do we have control over either, and they are not all performing to where I believe we would like them to be.
I don't like that either.
Yeah. So I think across the board, if you are taking taxpayer dollars, there should be some sort of accountability.
Okay. So let's talk about charter schools, because you've got the corporate charter school and you've got the homegrown organic charter school like Sarasota Military Academy, where people in a community, because the charter school idea was originally, if there's an unmet need in the community and parents and teachers, professionals want to get together to meet that need, then you can create this charter school. Maybe it's a STEM school, maybe it's a military academy, maybe, arts and sciences, the Sarasota School of Arts and Sciences focused on middle school kids, and like a liberal arts curriculum, which, I think most kids should be getting in public school anyway. Then you've got the corporate charter school, and if you've listened to my show, like over the years, my sister's an educator, you've got family members who are an educators. The second biggest lobbying group in the state of Connecticut, just example because she works there, and I've looked at that, is corporate charter schools. Or actually, I'm mistaken. It's hedge funds lobbying for corporate charter schools. And they do that because the school leases are part of real estate investment trusts that bring a guaranteed rate of return for those hedge funds. School board budgets are like the biggest municipal budgets out there. And we've seen the state really tie the hands of the school board when it comes to corporate charter schools. What is your take on what's gone on in Sarasota County with corporate charters? How can we make them more accountable? Because there's big holes in that accountability and the whole financial model. I'm just curious with your thoughts of what's going on nationally but locally with corporate charters.
Well, I do agree with you on that. I am not a fan. Also, corporate charters such as Schools of Hope, when they wanted to come into our schools.
Yeah.
There are so many issues with that. There are safety issues. They're not paying their fair share issues. I am super proud actually of our superintendent and our school board for acting so swiftly with that. Because that is one of our goals, is to bring enrollment back up. We couldn't do it fast enough to not, allow these Schools of Hope or these corporate charter schools to come in and set their foothold. So by reinventing K-8 schools, like I was talking about, taking middle school Brookside and turning it into a STEM school focused for middle schoolers, taking Emma Booker and bringing in BizTown. I think we have been so creative, and I think we're doing a great job. I don't think the school district, I don't think the current school board even is in favor of these. So we need to take a good look at what already does have a foothold in our schools and manage them.
Yeah. See, okay. So when you say you don't think the current school board's in favor of these, I stop a bit there, because there's a majority currently. Obviously, Bridget Ziegler won't be there. Yeah. And so, but Bridget Ziegler, Karen Rose, and Robin Marinelli. Marinelli's kind of a swing vote. With the Vermillion curriculum, she didn't go with that, which was very, that was a positive sign. We could talk about that if you want to. But I'm not seeing them holding a line on charter schools at all.
Well, I
corporate
do.
charters.
No, I do. As a whole, I think charter schools need to be held accountable. We have some great performing ones. We have some underperforming ones. And the corporate charter schools, I agree, need to be held more accountable. Yes.
How would you do that?
Test scores, looking at their budgets, how they're spending the money that we're giving them. You know, each individual school gets money, gets a budget, and I think we need to take a closer look at how they're spending their money.
Do you have any power to tell them how to spend the money as a school board?
That's a good question. I know at least for our school at Southside, when we meet with the principal and vice principal, I know that they have a set budget that they work with, and I believe that is their choice to, but they do have standards that they can and can't do. They can and can't buy certain material. Like our teachers wanted these books for math to help them prep. We had to go through, layers and layers and layers of okays to make sure that they were, okay to buy. So yes, I do think that they have to go through certain steps in how they're spending their money. Yeah. It would be interesting to see what their budget is exactly, how they're spending their money. I don't
think they're subject to the same transparency standards, corporate charters, that public schools are. So, and the thing about corporate charter schools is, like private schools, they cherry pick their kids. So I hear you on test scores, except they're deliberately choosing not to take the tough kids, the behavior problems, the kids with learning disabilities. Corporate charter schools, what they'll do, and we've seen this in Sarasota County, is they'll take these kids and they get their first payment. Like, I think there's a high school in Northport that definitely did this, if they don't still currently do this. They take the child, 10th grader, they take the money, and then they get the second payment in February from the school board. And it's my understanding that the school board just pays, that they don't really have control, as you think they might. But then prior to the 10th grade testing, if a kid is struggling and these schools know that the test scores are going to be hit and hurt, they'll cut that kid loose. They've taken the money to educate the child, but they'll kick them out for some reason, and then that child has to be absorbed into the public school, who's going to have the kids back, who's not going to abandon them. But when a child changes schools, especially at that age, 10th grade, well, any age, it's tough. The impact on their education can actually be like losing a whole year. So there's just practices there where, I don't know if we actually have a lot of accountability. And my concern is that the board majority we have right now turns a blind eye to that. They act like it's not an issue because, they're part of a political group, then they're not going to abandon the group.
Yeah. Well, I am proud that Robin did vote against the Vermillion, and stood up for that. I do have to say that the issue, like people are having with the vouchers, also with these public-private charters, is no matter where you go to school, the dollars should follow the student. Every student has an N number, and I believe it is for public charter schools also, or they have an identification number. The money needs to follow that number wherever it goes, no matter wherever it goes. Because the same thing's happening in private schools. People are signing up for private school, and they're saying halfway through the year, you're not meeting our needs, now I'm going to go to public school, but hey, the money's still staying at that private school. So I agree with you on the following the money and the educating, and it's disruptive for children to switch schools. Absolutely, it's terrible for them, and that's not the Sarasota County schools that I see and know.
Well, public schools don't do that,
but that's unfortunate because that is a representation of our schools because they are under our umbrella.
Yeah, they're under the umbrella. It's funny because like Joe Gruters will say charter schools are public schools. I'm like, no, they're not. They take public money. There's a big difference. If they're bundling lease money for real estate investment trusts, there's a whole financial incentive with corporate charters that doesn't exist with public schools. And I think we need to really look at it and understand that there's an effort by a political party to privatize public education. And, you know, my concern, your husband and I, we went to a fabulous public school. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I'll tell you, the headquarters of IBM was in our backyard. We had incredible corporate money supporting that school. That's not everybody's situation. But we should be able to do well in Sarasota County. And I'm like, look, this is gouging taxpayers for profit. And the kids are they're not really the main point. I mean, they may have lovely teachers. I'm sure the teachers care, but there's a corruption in that business model that's very disturbing to a lot of people. I'm one of them. Yeah. I just look at it and go, this is not a good idea. But let's talk about you're running, you want to fill the shoes of somebody who's been extremely divisive and contentious, right? Talented in many ways. I don't think if she didn't have that personal charisma that a lot of people are attracted to, I don't think she could have lasted this long. I'm sure if I spent time with Bridget Ziegler, I would like her, but politically, I think it's been shocking to a lot of people how she's used the school board as a platform for divisive issues to potentiate division. And, honestly, Heidi, I think people are wondering, because it's a nonpartisan race, but people have political parties, right? And so I think people look and go, well, are you going to be like that? So it's on people's minds. What do you say?
Of course it is. Yes, it is a nonpartisan race, but each and every one of us has a political affiliation. And it's easy to look up, and then it's easy to group us together into one little blue or red bubble.
Yeah.
I am Heidi Brandt, and I'm running because I think I have the greatest of intentions for all of our students. I am not running because anyone asked me to. I am not running with the same ideologies that Ms. Ziegler has. We are completely different people, and I do think she's a bright woman. I will not take that away from her. I think she's bright.
Oh, I don't think anybody thinks she's
I think she
stupid.
Has some good ideas, but I do agree with you that it became too much about politics. And the number one thing that I talk to people about is get the politics out of the boardroom.
Yeah.
So many of the decisions or the policies that were resolutions that were brought these past few months, I believe were just for political theater, such as the ICE resolution. I reached out to the head of our school security, Tim Enos, and just said, is this necessary? Don't we have to follow the law? If a judge gives us a court order, would we not be in contempt if we didn't follow the law? Is there any need for this resolution, or is it just going to cause fear? And at the end of the day, that was not necessary. It just created fear and distrust. And that's what I will hopefully bring back, because, like I mentioned, I'm on the PTO president. I was last year. And on my board, we come from a walk of different political backgrounds. And at the end of the day, we look around and we make decisions for the best interest of our students. And that's what the board should do. I was actually asked to be our foundation president next year.
Yeah.
I'm one of two people that will ever have served the PTO president and the foundation president. And I was asked because they know how I lead. I lead with compassion. I don't lead with any political objectives. And I care about the students and their best interests.
Yeah.
Politics, I'm running for a political office, but I'm the least political person. My husband ran for commission.
Yes.
And I said he would be the politician in the family. He likes to shake hands and kiss babies and take pictures and be out there talking to everyone. I am the quiet worker bee who gets things done and who shows up. And that's why I'm running, because I think that's who you need on the school board. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room or the most political person on the floor. You just need to show up and advocate for the teachers and for the students And that's who I will be on the board. I've met with many board members of both political sides. And at the end of our conversations, we agreed that, it's about the kids. It's not about politics. It's not if we agree with who we're voting for governor or not. It's about our students and our schools and putting them first.
Okay. So I agree. And this is a nonpartisan race. And it should be that way. And it would be great someday if school board meetings are a little more boring than dramatic. So I do want to ask you, because, the city commission races are nonpartisan, and your husband ran, and there was Carl Schofstall, who was the president of your neighborhood association. And actually, I've known Carl for a long time. When he ran, he actually started a political PAC, and I do a lot of research about political PACs. He started a PAC called Neighbors for a Better Sarasota. And this donation showed up after the election was over, because he was eliminated in the August primary. But there's a federal PAC called West Coast Citizens Alliance that donated $4,900 to the PAC that Carl started with his company by donating. And the federal PAC, you're the treasurer of that PAC. It's called West Coast Citizens Alliance. Jerry's email address is in there. And they gave, like I said, $4,900 to this Neighbors for a Better Sarasota. And there's developer money in there. We could talk about that if you want. But there's a lot of things that frankly disappoint me, but I have questions. Like, federal PACs aren't supposed to be giving to state PACs or be active in local elections. And you were the treasurer of this PAC. I also couldn't find the group. It's called the Roundtoe Group that gave $5,000 to the PAC. They're not a registered entity. There is a Ronto group with the same address, that without the U. And so since you're the treasurer, I'm wondering, can you tell me who actually donated that $5,000, since I can't nail it down? But also, for someone who's not political, it's unusual to be the treasurer of a PAC that's giving money.
Well, that was for a different election cycle. The money was raised. I don't recall exactly who all gave to it, but I believe it was probably the Ronto group, like you say, but it could have been a mistype or something. Carl Schofstall, I served on the Lido Key Residents Association board with him. I was a board member there for many, many years.
And I love Carl.
Yeah.
And I love you. I mean, I think you guys are great, but we need to be able to talk about political differences. Yes. So anyway, go ahead.
And so I don't even remember how much money was in that PAC for other, different races and candidates to support it. So I believe it was left over from a different donation. And Carl, I was the treasurer because I am great with money and finances. Okay. And so, they asked me to be a treasurer. And I did believe in Carl because developer discussions aside, he did a great job for Lido Key. He was an advocate for our beach. Mm-hmm. He stood up for us time and time again. And so that donation was made to, help support that he could.
Yeah. So here's, my issue with PACs and local races, which, since Citizens United, they're here. But they are a means to bypass campaign finance rules. I mean, that's why they're there. This political PAC had one donation. There weren't a lot to keep track of. It was just this one $5,000 donation. It was from this Ronto group, which, what I have found with political PAC record keeping is it seems to me that there are little typos that can make it difficult to track groups down. So, for instance, this Ronto group, if you look at the address, one $5,000 donation, it's ROUNTO, and then there's Ronto Group, RONTO, that's at the same address in Naples. So I'm looking at it, and it's developers that are developing in Sarasota County. So, one donation at $5,000, $4,900 go to Carl's PAC. The actual overall spending for that PAC was $5,005, which is $5 over. But I'm always like, how does that work? Because I've seen overspends going into three figures. It's massive.
PACs,
So,
I understand what you're saying. The local, they keep standards so it doesn't get too crazy. But I'm in a political race right now.
Yeah.
We have spent way more than I ever imagined spending. They're expensive, and oftentimes, when the community doesn't get behind a certain candidate, it does take a little more funding. And I understand what you're saying. Big donations in a local election. I understand what you're saying behind it, but now I'm on the other side, and I'm trying to raise money, and I'm spending money of my own because I care so much that I'm willing to put my money into the race to do it. But some candidates can't. So getting that little extra push from these PACs or the PCs really can help them over the finish line, because it is very expensive to run. And, I understand, and hopefully we can agree to disagree, but coming from the position of running in a political election right now, I could use all the help I could get. And so it is important to have that.
The thing about Citizens United is it just opened up the floodgates and the lack of transparency like this, correcting. If there's a donation, I'm not just saying this one, because I've seen this sort of thing. It's rampant now with PAC record keeping. There's nobody verifying anything with political donations in terms of, is the entity that's being listed as the donor actually an entity? Does it actually exist? There might be better fact-checking federally, but at the state and national level, there doesn't appear to be any at all. And I've talked with our supervisor of elections, and next week we'll have a show about a candidate who handed in qualifying paperwork when she was not qualified, and nobody checked it in the city or the county. It was a citizen who came forward and checked it. So, and the thing about, it's so, I like to say everyone's a nice guy. Carl is a nice guy. I know the kind of work he did on Lido Beach renourishment, but I can tell you, with Lido Beach Pavilion, which 90% of your neighborhood did not want it to become a privatized spring break bar, which would have ruined the beach parking, turtle nesting. There would have been all kinds of problems with that. So 90% of people are against it. And Carl was yelling at us. There were a bunch of us at a meeting, and he was telling us it was a done deal. So, it's a red flag for me when I see stuff like this, because I'm just like, what's going on? And honestly, for me, with Carl, when that happened, I was just like, all right, we're not inviting him to our organizing meetings anymore, because he doesn't think this is something that we can effectively oppose. So anyway, I appreciate, these are questions I have to ask. I don't agree with this system, and I don't agree with large political PACs influencing local races. I appreciate that you're answering and honest about it.
Hopefully they're not influencing, but supporting candidates is.
But that's what that is influence. If you can put unfettered money into a PAC, then the people with the gold get to make the rules. Tom Edwards was the best example to me, his first race, of people power over money, because he only had $35,000. And Eric Robinson, between the teachers union, which spent $30,000, and Eric Robinson's campaign, had $220,000 in a school board race. So we're talking $250,000.
Well, yeah, we all know, even Carl's race, he raised a lot of money. Yeah, we all know that money doesn't necessarily win elections, but being funded and supported, it certainly helps get your message out there.
It certainly does. And the $64,000 that was in this PAC, you know, when I ran in 2010, it was really clear, like, and I understand the fundraising challenge. It's not easy. But we were told you as a candidate can have nothing to do with the PAC. And this is how bad it's gotten that in 2022, we've got, you know, Carl's, a candidate's company starting the donation to his PAC. I mean, it's not even hidden. So I have one more question about this. Your campaign treasurer is Noreen Fenner. And Noreen Fenner is like Eric Robinson, managing tons of PACs, dark money PACs. Ms. Fenner manages, she's in Tallahassee. This is a local race. She is a dark, you know, political money manager. Why did you choose Ms. Fenner to be your treasurer instead of somebody local?
Well, I use my accountant still up in New York City.
Okay.
So, I don't have a local accountant or any treasurer. So, and he didn't want anything to do with my, campaign. So the person I trust the most is still up in New York City. So I used someone that was recommended to me. She has also been used by other candidates in Sarasota. So that was recommended. I don't have a local person. I have a New York City.
I miss the days when we had local, I just think, to your point about how difficult it is to raise money, the floodgates that got open, you know, Frank Kovacs was quoted before he decided to step down. He was an incumbent school board member, and he said, you know, it used to take $10,000 to run for school board. He said that in 2016. He said, now it's become a 6-figure race, and that's directly attributable to Citizens United. You know, Bridget Ziegler was the first school board candidate that basically was helped by dark money, $42,000 from an LLC that nobody could trace. I traced it. So this is definitely an issue for me, and it's something I think a lot of people do care about. I really respect how much you've done as a parent and a volunteer and your reasons for running. And I want to get to your website because you talk about your four planks are empower parents, ensure school safety, enhance workforce training, and then employ and invest in high quality teachers. I just want to open it up, like whichever one of those you'd like to focus on, because we've got a bit of time.
Yeah. I can start off the bat is empower parents. And that kind of got a bad rap, I guess, being associated with like the Moms for Liberty.
Well, it's one of their talking points.
Yes, but it's actually not a bad talking point because I am not associated with that group.
Yeah.
However, I am a parent. I want to feel empowered and not to make decisions for what the teachers teach or what goes on in the classroom, but I want to feel empowered that I know what's going on in the classroom. I want to know that there's open communication, that there's a line of communication between me and the teachers and the administration. And I think the school board's done a great job of that. It's like we have an awesome portal. I can see every test my daughter's taken. I can ask the teacher what went wrong. So I think empowering parents just to have the tools, the communication, the knowledge to be involved. Because we all know that if you are involved in your child's education, your child is more likely to succeed.
Sure.
So that's really just empowering parents to take a stance in their child's education.
Yeah.
To communicate, to be involved. So that's how, and I use it because it's a catchy line, but I really think empowering parents will help their students. I'm not saying you need to be yelling at every school board meeting, I know best, I know best, teachers should be doing this. It's about empowering parents to get involved.
Yeah. So, and what about ensuring school safety? What do you think needs to be improved?
So when I talk about safety, It is. I think we need to keep with the times. Like they've had having problems in Northport with the vaping. Vaping wasn't a thing when I was in high school.
And it's so bad for you.
Oh
it's
my God,
horrible. It's worse than cigarettes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we need to keep with the times. Maybe some anti-vaping detectors. We need to constantly be evolving and making sure our schools are very safe, and not just like from situations like that, or God forbid an active shooter or something, but just that kids feel safe walking into school and studying their desks and learning. I don't think phones are necessary in school. I think that could lead to bullying and distractions. I don't think they're safe, actually. And the bullying aspect too. I just really
bullying is tough.
It's tough. And, a lot of people don't agree with the school board when they said no bullying for all, and they took out certain provisions. But, every single child, Jerry got bullied when he went to our monk, believe it or not. Handsome, tall, handsome, athletic, smart guy.
Football team.
He was the new kid.
Oh.
New kids get bullied. You could be a Jerry and get bullied. You can wear glasses and get bullied. You can wear the wrong shoes and get bullied. You can have a messy hair one day and get bullied because you woke up late for school. So I do think the school board was right in saying no bullying for all. I don't think it included everyone. I think it did. I don't think it excluded anyone. I think it included everyone. So it's really important. The bullying thing, the no cell phone. I would like to see the no cell phone thing, and just making sure we're keeping with the times with safety.
Yeah. Workforce training.
Yes.
Are you, because I think Tom Edwards of all of the school board members has been the most proactive and creative in setting up new opportunities.
Yeah. I agree with them with 110%. And I've actually met with a gentleman who lives in Jerry's mom's community down south a little bit, and he's on the board of the technical college, and he was sharing with me all the great ideas they have for expanding and improving on that, and working with Polytech, even talking about bringing nursing programs into some of our high schools, because some of our nurses are aging out. So I am definitely on board with expanding the workforce training. I went down to the transportation department and met with them, and they have great programs that they want to expand on, bringing some of those students in to work on diesel engines, to just have some more workforce training hands-on. So I would love to expand on that. I think he's spot on. We need to really support those after-school type careers.
Have you talked with Tom Edwards about any of that?
I have not talked with them. Not yet.
Okay.
No?
So employ and invest in high-quality teachers. I mean, nobody would disagree with that. I think that, of course, we want that. I'm curious, in June of 2022, the governor created a program that allowed veterans to become teachers, and there was concern that maybe the typical safeguards or standards for a teacher that need to be there weren't there. Did you have any thoughts about that program? And then, what would you want to do that's not being done to have high quality teachers?
Well, I think it's a great idea. I do think we have seen a few issues with a few teachers that might possibly needed to be maybe more vetted, maybe a bigger background check. So especially with that program, I would like to have definitely a major background check and vetting of that. But going towards retaining and hiring high quality teachers. Actually, the governor did do a big push in raising the starting entry level salary for new teachers, just because kids were graduating from college and not going into teaching because they couldn't afford to.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's bad when it comes to paying teachers.
It is, but
it's good that we're better, but
we're getting better. Sarasota County is getting better as a whole. But I actually went to a press conference of DeSantis yesterday, and he was talking about the property taxes, but he also elaborated a little bit on a new funding for tenure teachers. Okay. So we've spent a lot of time in the past couple of years putting money into, attracting new teachers. So we're missing out on really the tenured teachers. Thank you. Stay with us. You're doing a great job. So a big portion of our budget this year, he said, is going to be allocated towards those tenured teachers and raising their salary a little bit.
Okay.
So I think that's very important.
Heidi, we just have a few minutes. How do people find out more about you? My phone number, my email is on the Supervisor of Elections website. Okay.
I love face-to-face. I love phone calls. I love emails. I would prefer it over Facebook little, interactions. So I always tell people, I said, call me. Reach out to me, email me, let's meet,
Okay.
And so please do that. Please find me on the supervisor election or go to my website, more information, or my Facebook. But yeah, I am here, and I love talking. I love sharing my story and my message.
Okay. Thank you so much. And everybody, you have been listening to The Detail on WSLR 96.5 LPFM in Sarasota, Florida, and WBPV 100.1 LPFM in Bradenton, Florida. Jewish Family and Child Services of the Suncoast is one of the area's leading mental health and human services agencies. Services are delivered on a non-denominational basis. Services provided by JFCS include, but are not limited to, housing assistance and job placement, food and financial assistance, mental health services, seniors, caregivers, and Alzheimer's support and homelessness prevention. More information about JFCS is available at jfcs-cares.org. They do great work. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Heidi Brandt, for being with me today. Be sure to stay tuned for more public affairs programming here on WSLR. Make it a great day.